On 16th May 2025, four British climbers left for Kathmandu to climb world highest peak in a record time. As soon as they arrived in Kathmandu, they started inhaling the xenon gas for half an hour, and that made them ready to climb. They did not waste any time. Immediately, they took a helicopter ride to the base camp. Even at the base camp, they did not stay for the night. They immediately started climbing toward the upper camps. By 18th of May, these four climbers from Furtenbach expedition reached somewhere between Camp 1 and Camp 2, which is at an elevation of 6,500 meters. Next day, they reached the Camp 3 at an elevation of 7,200 meters. Pretty high for the climber on the fourth day from the sea level. Without getting any rest, on 20th May, these climbers continued climbing up toward the South Pole, and they reached the Camp 4 at an elevation of 7,900 meters, very close to the death zone. By this time, these climbers should have been dead, but somehow xenon gas was keeping them alive. Despite the high wind, on 21st May, these climbers reached the summit of Mount Everest. This has never happened in the history of climbing. 4 days from the base camp, 6 days from the home, these climbers were sitting on the top of the world. On the same day, these climbers descended back to the base camp and took a helicopter ride to the Kathmandu and returned back home in Britain, completing their Everest journey within 7 days. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the new era of climbing Mount Everest. Furtenbach expedition isn't only one who did impossible this season. Elite expedition also claimed that one of their clients, Andrew Shakau, climbed the Mount Everest from sea level to the summit in less than 4 days, and on top of that, they did not even utilize xenon gas. According to the Elite expedition, Andrew spent thousands of hours sleeping in the altitude tent. Altitude tent are a specialized tent where you can reduce the atmospheric pressure inside the tent up to the level of summit of Mount Everest. So while you are sleeping at your home, your body experiences the effect of high altitude. By next season, Furtenbach expedition and Elite expedition won't be the only one who would be doing the speed climbing. Many more climber and tour operator will join this trend and will climb mountain in less than 7 days. And it is not necessarily bad. In the past, I have criticized the usage of xenon gas for speed climbing because it is a kind of doping system. It does not matter how many times Lucas Furtenbach defend usage of xenon gas, but there is no doubt about that it is a kind of substance that can boost performance not just in high altitude but in any other sports. But it has always been that way. We have always looked for the shortcut to the summit of Mount Everest. If we talk about our first successful expedition to the Mount Everest, more than 400 men were required to take these two legends, Edmund Hillary and Tenzing Norgay, on the top of the world. More than 40 Sherpa worked on the upper camp of the Mount Everest, fixing the rope, managing the logistic. And on top of that, these two legends utilized the supplementary oxygen. As soon as you start utilizing supplementary oxygen, altitude stops right there. And the most difficult part of climbing Mount Everest is its extreme altitude. So was it really a pure form of mountaineering? In reality, there are only a handful of people who have climbed the Mount Everest in a pure alpine, unsupported and without supplementary oxygen. Most climbers in the Mount Everest needed supplementary oxygen, heavy support, fixed ropes, and they are always looking for the shortcut to the summit of Mount Everest. Maybe the climbing spirit wasn't even there in the Mount Everest. Mount Everest truly belonged to the commercial tour operator who want to grab as much money as possible. Of course, there would be climbers like Josh Caboose, Denis Urbuko, who would be climbing Mount Everest and other 8,000 peak in pure alpine style. Despite the technology and availability of xenon gas, they will stick to their ethics. For majority of climber and tour operator, xenon gas is a new opportunity to climb mountain in a shorter time. Climber would be spending less time in the base camp, and in the upper camp, it will lead to the better ecosystem in the Khumbu Valley. Right now, it is extremely difficult to manage human waste and garbage in the upper camps of the Mount Everest. Climbers usually throw human faces into the glacier that melt to form a river, and that river is the source of water for the local people, and they drink without filtration, which is quite dangerous. If these climbers spend less time in the mountain, there will be less pollution, and this will solve one of the biggest problems in the Himalaya. One of the negative aspects of speed climbing is there won't be many base camp jobs available for the local people. most of the local people in Khumbu Valley depended on base camp jobs for their livelihood. It could be one of the reasons why Nepali authorities are investigating Xenon expedition team, the Futtenbach expedition team. But guess what? There won't be any action. These big players like Elite Expedition, Futtenbach Expedition have gotten away with many regulations. Every year Nepali government come up with regulation, but these regulations are not really followed by the big players. One of the reasons why Xenon gas expedition was so successful is because they were allowed to take illegal helicopter ride to the base camp. As per the rules and regulation in the Mount Everest, no one is allowed to take helicopter ride to the base camp unless it's an emergency situation like search and rescue or important logistics. But these big players have lot of money to get away with any regulation imposed by the Nepali authorities. Anyway, I'm very optimistic about these speed climbing expedition, including Xenon gas expedition, and we will see how it shapes climbing in Mount Everest. For now, that's all, and thank you for watching.